Привет, 1/400 scale airplane collectors. Today we have a Tupolev TU-134. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. The NATO code name for this particular one is called Crusty B, and B is because this has a special nose cone on it. So let's see. This is probably the airplane manufacturer's logo, but this is the 134-UB-L, and it's from the Air Force number 28. All right. Panda Model is who made this, if you want to search that. Usually you shouldn't even look by a brand. You should just look up 1/400 and whatever the airplane is, because a lot of these things are unlicensed. Almost all of them are unlicensed, so I'm actually surprised about the branding there. Alright, let's read some Wikipedia here. So this is a short to medium route airplane, Russian design, of course, and from 1966 to 1989 it was flying around. It was quite a popular airplane. It was in long-term service with 42 different countries. There's some tape in here. Maybe the reseller did this. Unfortunately, time passed on, and they've been taken out of service because they just got too old and some planes are crashing. But the history is quite interesting. I guess back in 1960, it was pretty new to have the engines out on the back of the fuselage. The French Caravelle did that, and Khrushchev, on a visit to France, was flying in one, and he's like, this plane's so much quieter than planes of its days with the engines on the wings. So he ordered the Russian government to make their own version of the Caravelle, pretty much. And so that became the TU-134, which looks like a normal commercial aircraft. But the UB-L is putting the nose cone of a military bomber. It's basically used to be a training plane, so people could eventually fly the bomber with such a long nose cone. So let me show you an image of that bomber. There it is. So this is, I believe, the TU-160. And so you can just see it's got a really long nose, which must be really difficult to land because you really can't even see what you're doing, right? So that's the purpose of this plane's existence, is to train those pilots to land without seeing the runway. Okay, well, this is the one image I could find of this particular livery. Let's see if we can get the camera in there a little better. It looks pretty close. I feel like it might be missing. I don't know if that's a wing over there or the antenna. That thing. There's also something hanging down below it. Interesting. Oh, there's a tiny antenna on the bottom of this thing. I gotta be careful of breaking that. Alright, yeah, some other images there. Let's see. I don't know if we're gonna be able to see the bottom so much. No, guess not. And then, to me, it looks like a private jet, minus the funky nose, right? It just looks like a private jet. The last thing I think that's kind of important is over 850 of these planes were built, but not this particular nose cone one. Just all the 134s. Let me see if I can find something on this particular one. Now, it doesn't say how many of these are made, the UB-Ls. Alright, well, hold on here. I gotta get my camera situated in a better fashion. And let's take a look at this thing. It's pretty hard to review these because the sensitive antennae. The gray is just it's not metallic. That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to focus on this thing. Okay, there we go. And then my dental picks, always vanishing. Alright, well, the windows are printed on, which is the case with almost all 1/400 scale airplanes. They're just too small, right? And that works. That's fine for me. This is glossy black here, this printing on. The little nose has a red tip, like a Rudolph there. But yeah, look at this tiny antenna. I mean, this is a dental pick here, right? It's meant to floss your teeth as well. And that little piece of metal is jammed in there. And then it's got two pieces of metal sticking in here. I'm not sure what those would be, but I see them on the photograph. And They're not even straight, you know, they're like a V. Something about aerodynamics, I assume. Alright, the wings there, yeah, they have the Russian star there, and the panel gaps are really fine. They're finer than a toothpick, so that's why these are very nice, these airplanes. And I complain about wide gaps on 1/64 scale cars because I know diecast can be better. These little engines here, they have little bumps molded in there. Interesting. Little printing of these dots. I have no clue what that stuff is, of course. And then look how sharp this tip is on this back tail fin. It's interesting. Yeah, so the wings are up there. The Wikipedia also mentioned that, you know, when you shift all this weight of the engines back here, but the lift is in the front, that's why these back-engined fuselage airplanes have the wings up here to counteract the weight that this thing's trying to do, I guess. You know, it's trying to be like that because all the weight's back here. So something about the wings being up here lets it fly better. I'm not an aerodynamicist. I'm not really even an aviation enthusiast. I just like collecting small models. So if you know better, please leave you know, leave something in the comments so all of the other viewers can learn from you. All right. I'm just here to share toys, guys. I'm not here to educate people. I'm just learning by collecting toys in most cases. Oh boy. Man, this thing is so small. Again, I'm trying to focus. But there's some fine printing, as one would expect on a 1/400 scale hobby grade airplane. Yeah, I have no idea what that logo is, but you can see how many colors there are, right? That's quite impressive, that many colors. And then you can see the windows, the gray, but there's a tiny ring of silver around each of those windows, right? Look how perfect that is printed. It's really amazing. And then that's all on top of this red and white stripe, where the stripe is quite well done as well. Right? And then they counteract the colors with the door there. So there's a lot of print processes in this particular thing, and it's printed very well. It's very impressive. Yeah, that funky long nose. For some reason this thing has green hubs. I guess that's accurate. It looks like that landing photo I pulled up has green hubs. And then tiny black tires. They could be rubber O-rings. Notice that a lot. Yeah, they are. So unfortunately they might break one day, but I guess you could buy replacement O-rings. There's a little 28 printed on this little door. And then look at this antenna. If you thought that was small, look how much smaller that antenna is. So that's why I'm really cautious. I'm afraid to touch that thing. Right? That's really cool. The bottom of the nose has this gray, so they printed it twice to get around the cone. Alright, look how fine the printing is of these lines. That's way smaller than the gap of your tooth, right? Some dust. Little hatches, little lights down there. Here's a peg hole for a flight stand. Just look how fine the printing is on it. It's amazing. I mean, you can see my fingerprints. Do not use them for nefarious reasons. I feel like there's even yellow dots or something. Really fine dots on top of this gray. Look how fine that hatch door is. It's amazing how small. That's way smaller than a millimeter in width. Maybe that's like 1/10 of a millimeter. It's thinner than most people's hair. So, yeah, it's quite amazing, these things. Very nice, very nice. Alright, so you have double bogey landing gear here, and then I can see that rubber O-ring. This one is kind of out of place. Yeah, so that's gonna be mindful of that. You're gonna have to buy some extra O-rings because these are gonna get lost fairly easily if you play with these or even touch them. Alright, so they're the panel gaps down here. There we go. So yeah, just a lot of printing on here. You don't even really notice it from half an arm's length away. But, I mean, you can magnify in and just find more and more details on these things. So that's one of the enjoyments of hobby grade 1/400 scale airplanes. Alright, I feel like you can touch the rear a little bit. There's no antenna back there. Let's see if we can see into that engine. Yeah, there's some fan blades in there. It's pretty far in there as well, the duct. That's really far in there. Whoa, that's really, really in there. Look at that. So how they do that, I don't know. It's a really fine mold. You can see the cockpit pretty nice there. Let's see about the back of the engines. Yeah, there's some details. Not as cool as the front end, but there's like a weird star pattern in there. And then the tip of the tail has some sort of gunmetal printing. The rear fin here, yeah, double, triple, white, red, white star. There's a lot of different printing going on there. The tips of these wings have red on it. Essentially, this is an immaculate model. There's not much details. I mean, to the naked eye, you can't see anything wrong with this. Sure, under 4x magnification, you can see tiny bits of dust in the paint and some sort of smudge there. Yeah, it's probably from oil. Keep the plastic wrap from damaging it. Okay, well, very interesting. The bottom of the belly also kind of comes out a little bit. It's interesting there, right, to accommodate the wings. Very cool, very cool. Very small. Okay. So I don't have the TU-134 in this commercial nose, you know, the rounded commercial airplane nose. But I'll have to add that to my list of things to get. I want to get one of each casting. But I do have two other Tupolevs. And so the first one is the TU-144, which is basically Russia's Concorde. So look at this thing. This one is made by Herpa. That's a German model company. So this one, it looks like the wings could be plastic. No, I'm wrong. It's just something's wrong, really thin there. I think it's metal. But anyways, yeah, it's interesting. Their own little Concorde. Must have sucked down fuel just like the Concorde. So big plane. Look how big that thing is, right? And then the last one is a TU-154-M. And this is a commercial airplane, like a tri-jet. So it still has two motors here, but a third one up there. And it's got the Uzbekistan livery. And who made this? I think this is made by Phoenix. I think Phoenix is one of the best, yeah, if not the best brand making these scale models. Yeah, the airplanes, that is. The Star Wars ones I have from those guys are just amazing. Granted, they're not labeled as made by Phoenix, but a dealer hinted that they are. Okay, yeah, right. So it's not about these two planes. It's about this one here. So that's actually quite small, you know. I mean, it's still a big airplane, but compared to commercial airliners, it's definitely small. But yeah, that whole nose cone is quite interesting. Alright, well, another die-cast airplane. I'm getting a lot of Russian airplanes that are recent. I've basically got away from collecting airplanes and spent a whole lot of money collecting car models. But I tend to end up in a negative mood with those car models because I know what cars should look like. And most new cars look perfect, and yet it's really difficult to make a 1/64 scale model look perfect because it's really small. But as you can see here, this is 1/400 scale. I mean, this is really shrinking something down. And yet, this looks pretty fantastic to me. But then again, I don't live my life around airplanes. If I saw airplanes every day, maybe I'd be more picky. But for me, they're just cool. It's really cool to learn about airplanes. And, you know, it's a whole different class of vehicle. You know, it's not styling, it's engineering. So if you like this kind of stuff, I have a few more airplane models to review, and we'll see you then. Alright, happy flights. Bye.